Now, when it comes to spur-of-the-moment purchases on the internet, we are probably all a little bit guilty, aren't we? But imagine confessing to friends and family that you had acquired a 100-year-old wreck submerged in a river in Essex. That is what Howard Dorber had to do after agreeing to buy the sunken Llys Helig in the hope of restoring her to her former glory. Well, today Howard made an attempt to refloat the boat, and Russell Hookie was there.
From plying the world's oceans, hosting the rich and famous, to being submerged in a muddy Essex estuary, the Llys Helig's fortunes had hit rock bottom. Yet those who wrote her off hadn't counted on Howard Dorber, who stumbled across her on an internet auction site.
I saw the boat come up on eBay. I'd been looking at boats and I hadn't thought for a million years about taking on something like this. I found out it was a 1922 gentleman's yacht. There's actually a very beautiful boat under there somewhere. And I thought, well, I'll give it a go. So I got in touch with the previous owner and yes, I came down and bought it.
Well, it's just gone midday here in Burnham on Crouch and the tide is coming in fast now. I was standing on the step below just a few minutes ago. The water is currently around about 5 or 6 inches below my feet. High tide is in about an hour's time at 1 o'clock, when the water will reach a maximum depth here of 4 feet. Now that will be critical because it's when maximum buoyancy will occur to get this boat upright again. At the moment, the crew who are working on her don't think that they've pumped out enough water today to get her upright, but they remain ever hopeful that it will happen either later today or tomorrow.
Because it's in such shallow water, we're having to do 3 things. We're having to make it watertight as it stands, then we're having to give it some airbags to actually give it some rotational force, and we're having to make the boat completely watertight so that we can pump the water out, and then the plan is, with winches and everything else, we'll stand the boat back up again.
As well as locals and tourists, one onlooker has more reason than most for wanting to see the Llys Helig raised. Peter Moore used her as Radio Caroline's secret base for many years.
I'm very happy. I was worried it would end up in pieces or just stay there till it fell apart. And the owner has great plans for it, and I'm sure he'll fulfill them. But it's a historic ship in itself. In 2 years' time, it'll be 100 years old, so it deserves saving.
He might have to wait a little longer, though. Today's attempt narrowly failed. But the team will be back tomorrow, and for as long as it takes, to ensure the Llys Helig can rise from what many thought would be her watery grave. Russell Hookie, ITV News, Burnham on Crouch in Essex.
What a history, and we will follow its progress. Right, let's go to the weather now. Chris, you've made it outside.